Happy Monday, everyone. So I know it's only been 2 weeks since we did an unboxing for September, but they seem to be everybody's favorite videos that I do. And so give the people what they want, right? I also had in that box of books that I had talked about a couple weeks ago, there were books that weren't released until just now. So sometimes the library receives the books ahead of the publication date and we have to hold them and not talk about them or put them on display or put them out until the publication date. And so I had some in that box that I really wanted to talk about but weren't available quite yet. They are now. So we are doing kind of an unboxing part 2, some other brand new books. And again, fiction, nonfiction, I've got it all. I've got authors you know, maybe some new authors, and I'm hoping that this will just continue the excitement for the month of September as the kids go back to school. Maybe you have a little free time to read. That would be lovely, right? So let's see what we have here. I'm gonna put up a cover of a book and then we'll talk about it and we'll do that throughout. And then at the end, I'll put all the covers again and you can get busy placing holds or coming in to check them out. Okay, let's get started. So we're starting with a pretty big deal author, Colson Whitehead, who wrote The Underground Railroad and Nickel Boys and has been just, he won the Pulitzer Prize twice. He is a winner of the National Book Award. So just like a big deal all around. And I have loved his books so far. So he has a new one out, as you saw the cover there. It's called Harlem Shuffle. And this one is, it says it's gloriously entertaining novel of heists, shakedowns, and ripoffs set in Harlem in the 1960s. But the thing I loved about it is it said that this ingenious story plays out in a beautifully recreated New York City of the early 1960s. It's a family saga masquerading as a crime novel. A hilarious morality play, a social novel about race and power, and ultimately a love letter to Harlem. So I'm really excited about this one because I feel like if you've read any of Colson Whitehead's books, you know that he talks about race and about history a lot. And so this is, again, another intersection of those things, but they also just say that it's just so beautifully told. And I always love any period piece about New York City, like reading about, because it's been through so many iterations. It's a constantly changing place, right? New York City is like a living organism in and of itself. So reading about a time capsule of it in a particular neighborhood like Harlem, in a particular time period like the 60s, I think sounds really fantastic. And the main character's name is Ray Carney, and he is an upstanding salesman of reasonably priced furniture, they say, and he makes a decent living and has a family. But what people don't know is that he's descended from a line of uptown hoods and crooks, and that his facade of normalcy has more than a few cracks in it, cracks that are getting bigger all the time. So if you're looking for a new great read and you've loved his others, I would suggest Harlem Shuffle by Colson Whitehead. I know it's on my list to read. Okay, next book. So our next book is a debut from what I can tell, and I'm excited about that because I love debut novels. So this one is called My Sweet Girl by Amanda Jayatissa. And the little blurb inside the cover says that Paloma thought her perfect life would begin once she was adopted and made it to America, but she's about to find out that no matter how far you run, your past always catches up to you. Isn't that the truth? It says, ever since she was adopted from a Sri Lankan orphanage, Paloma has had the best of everything, schools, money, and parents so perfect that she fears she'll never live up to them. But now she's 30 years old and recently cut off from her parents' funds, and she decides to sublet the second bedroom of her overpriced San Francisco apartment to Arun, who recently moved from India. So this is a story that they say is like very unique. Everybody who reviewed it said it was very unique, like nothing else they've read. It's set in both San Francisco and Sri Lanka, which, love a destination, is a story about friendship, lies, and guilt, and a stunning and original must read. So I am super excited to pick this one up. They say it's a twisty, fast-paced thriller, which I know many of you, that's kind of your jam. That's the books you love, and I do too. Especially when I'm in a mood. I just want to read something compelling and that I can't put down. And this seems like one of those. And I just love the cover art. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but the cover is beautiful and it makes me want to pick it up. If I saw this, I would pick it up. So this one just came out like in the last week. And if you haven't yet put it on your holds list, it may even be sitting here. I'm not sure if it has holds on it yet. So My Sweet Girl by Amanda Jayatissa. Okay, next book. Friends Like These by Kimberly McCreight is the next one on my list. And so Kimberly McCreight is a New York Times bestselling author. She wrote Reconstructing Amelia and Where They Found Her, and A Good Marriage. And so she's written a number, which maybe you have already read. I have not, so she is newer to me. It says, in this relentlessly twisty literary thriller from New York Times bestselling author, a group of college friends haunted by the past gather at a glamorous weekend home for a desperate intervention, a reunion marked by lies, betrayal, and murder. So when I read that, the first thing I thought of was Ruth Ware's In a Dark, Dark Wood, which many of you have read. I have recommended to a million people because it was just the perfect kind of literary thriller to me. And modern though, right? Ruth Ware has gone in a more Agatha Christie-esque path in some of her later books. This one sounds like In a Dark, Dark Wood to me, which is high praise for me. I want to read it because I loved that book, and I feel like they make compelling reads that also would make great movies. So this one has gotten just really wonderful reviews. Her other books were very well received. And so if you love Ruth Ware and you're looking for kind of a read-alike, while I haven't read this one yet, that's what it reminds me of. Friends Like These by Kimberly McCreight. Okay, I've got a couple more fiction. Speaking of read-alikes, I've got this new one, Under the Bayou Moon by Valerie Fraser Luce. That is set in Bernadette, Louisiana. And some of this, not all aspects of it, because when you recommend a read-alike, you're looking at the different facets of the story and what's similar. So not every facet of the story is similar, but this reminds me in a lot of ways of Where the Crawdads Sing. So the setting, the tone, I think minus the murder mystery part, but just the setting and tone and the romance of it, if you love those parts of Where the Crawdads Sing, I think that Under the Bayou Moon might speak to you. So it says that when Ellie Fields accepts a teaching job in a tiny Louisiana town deep in Bayou country in 1949, she knows her life would change, but she could never imagine just how dramatically. So through the rightfully suspiciousness of outsiders who have threatened both their language and their unique culture, most of the residents come to appreciate the young and idealistic school teacher, and she's soon teaching just about everyone, despite opposition from both the school board and a politician with ulterior motives. So there's kind of a fish out of water story going on, but there's definitely the culture of the Louisiana Bayou imbued in this. And she says that she meets a new friend, a captivating Cajun fisherman, and a legendary white alligator haunting the bayou that will make all the difference in her story. So it says that this is a story of risk, resilience, and romance. So less murder mystery, more atmospheric kind of read, and some romance, some life-changing events, moving fish out of water, different place in the country, different time period because it's in the 40s. So this one had a lot of marks to me that said if you loved Where the Crawdads Sing, you might be in the mood for Under the Bayou Moon. It's got a great cover also with the moon and the bayou there. It's beautiful. So Valerie Fraser Luce, and if you haven't heard of her yet, maybe try this one out and see what you think. And let me know if I'm right about it being a read-alike or not if you've read Where the Crawdads Sing. Okay, I have one more fiction and then a couple nonfiction for you. The Heart Principle by Helen Huang is not, she's not a new author. This is the third book that she's written, including The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test, and this one's called The Heart Principle. I don't know for sure if you have to read them in order, but it certainly couldn't hurt to do that, I guess. I'm not sure if the characters carry or not. I don't think it's technically a trilogy, but it says a woman struggling with burnout learns to embrace the unexpected, and the man she enlists to help her in this heartfelt new romance by this USA Today bestselling author. So it says that when violinist Anna Sun accidentally achieves career success with a viral YouTube video, she finds herself incapacitated and burned out from her attempts to replicate that moment. And when her longtime boyfriend announces he wants an open relationship before making a final commitment, a hurt and angry Anna decides if he wants an open relationship, then she does too. Translation, she's going to embark on a string of one-night stands. The more unacceptable the man, the better. And so then it goes on from there. It's a romance. It's like a rom-com type of story, I feel like. I've heard wonderful things about both The Kiss Quotient and The Bride Test. So if you are looking for something a little lighter at heart, a little maybe funnier, sharper, wittier, but also with romance, then I think The Heart Principle by Helen Huang could be your next great read. All right, I have a few nonfiction for you next. When we're talking about highly anticipated nonfiction by a beloved author, we can't go wrong with Nathaniel Philbrick, who wrote In the Heart of the Sea, which was one of my favorite nonfiction books ever, about the actual story behind the ship that was the ship that was the story that Moby Dick was based on, but it's the real story about it. And it was gripping and unputdownable. And so I have ever since then been a convert and love all of his books. He's written a number, including Bunker Hill, Mayflower, The Last Stand, a whole bunch of these, In the Hurricane's Eye, Valiant Ambition. So this one is called Travels with George, In Search of Washington and His Legacy. And the cover has George Washington in the rearview mirror, which I think is great. So it says that, does George Washington still matter? Bestselling author Nathaniel Philbrick argues for Washington's unique contribution to the forging of America by retracing his journey as a new president through the new unsure nation. I think at this moment in history, what a great time to look back at our country and its legacies, both positive and negative, and places where the foundations were set and the decisions that were made, and what a unique position the very first president of our country was in. And I think that alone makes it fascinating. So this is a story all about his journey as a new president and what that looked like and the decisions he made. And just like I said, I would read pretty much anything that comes with Nathaniel Philbrick's name on it, but this one looks like a great thing for this particular moment in time as we're reevaluating kind of everything we know about how we functioned as a nation since the beginning. I think it's important to remember the legacies, but also to look at them with a critical eye. So, which I'm sure this author does, because he is meticulous in his research, and but also makes them completely thrilling to read. So if you're somebody who normally finds nonfiction a little dry or boring, I think he's a great author to pick up if you want to try a nonfiction book, because he just has a way of keeping you engaged with any part of the history that he's discussing. Okay, next book. In a more somber nonfiction book regarding history and all things very important to us moving forward in a better, more positive way, we have The Dressmakers of Auschwitz by Lucy Adlington, which is the true story of the women who sewed to survive. So it says that at the height of the Holocaust, 25 young inmates of the infamous Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp, mainly Jewish women and girls, were selected to design, cut, and sew beautiful fashions in a dedicated salon for elite Nazi women. It was the work they hoped would spare them from the gas chambers. This fashion workshop, called the Upper Tailoring Studio, was established by Hedwig Hoss, the camp commandant's wife, and patronized by the wives of the SS guards and officers. Here, the dressmakers produced high-quality garments for SS social functions in Auschwitz and for ladies from Nazi Berlin's upper crust. Drawing on diverse sources, including interviews with the last surviving seamstress, The Dressmakers of Auschwitz follows the fates of these brave women. Their bonds of family and friendship not only help them endure persecution, but also play their part in camp resistance. Weaving the dressmakers' remarkable experiences within the context of Nazi policies for plunder and exploitation, historian Lucy Adlington exposes the greed, cruelty, and hypocrisy of the Third Reich and offers a fresh look at a little-known chapter of World War II and the Holocaust. So I love that we're seeing more and more books that tell kind of the feminine story in history, because I think a lot of times it's told by and about the men involved. And so we are seeing this more with Hidden Figures and The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And we're seeing more and more stories told about just women's stories in these situations and what their lives were like and how they contributed to these efforts to fight the resistance and to, fight the good fight and make a difference in the world in whatever way was available to them. So The Dressmakers of Auschwitz looks powerful. I'm sure not an easy read, but well worth reading, and something that we all need to read and remember lest we forget and repeat history. So if you're looking for something a little more serious, I think this book could be perfect for you right now. Okay, I have one more book for you before we're done for the week. I did want to end on a more upbeat note, just to leave us all in a good mood as we go off on our Mondays. So I'm going to end with Fuzz by Mary Roach, who has written several other books, including Gulp and Stiff. It says, join America's funniest science writer, which I love that, on an irresistible investigation into the unpredictable world where wildlife and humans meet. What's to be done about a jaywalking moose, a bear caught breaking and entering, a murderous tree? 300 years ago, animals that broke the law would be assigned to legal representation and put on trial. These days, as New York Times bestselling author Mary Roach discovers, the answers are best found not in jurisprudence, but in science. The curious science of human-wildlife conflict, a discipline at the crossroads of human behavior and wildlife biology. This is fascinating to me because I know nothing about any of this. I love that the animals and plants used to be assigned legal counsel and held to our standards, which is crazy to me as we are the ones who have clearly invaded their space, not the other way around. But this book has been called hilarious, actually by Eric Larson, who wrote Devil in the White City that so many of us love, and a number of others, including The Splendid and the Vile. He says it's hilarious and that Mary Roach takes us into unfamiliar scientific realm, in this case, the science of managing conflicts between humans and the natural world. Lethal leopards, rampaging elephants, jet-downing birds, even killer trees. It's an ever-widening conflict zone because we are getting more and more crowded and more in each other's spaces, I think, but one that Ms. Roach gleefully mines for a multitude of bizarre facts that will make you snort coffee through your nose. What better praise is there for a book than that, especially a nonfiction one? And I love this kind of information, like getting these unknown facts and little tidbits. They make for great conversation now that we're back to being social people again and seeing others occasionally. Some of us may be running short of conversation, and I think a light tone is a lovely way to start a new conversation, especially in this period. So if you are into nature and wildlife, or just kind of strange facts about anything, like the Malcolm Gladwell books are similar in that way. They give you a lot of coffee table kind of talk. Check out Fuzz by Mary Roach, and hopefully it'll put a smile on your face this week. Okay, so I think that's it for the September unboxing part 2. If there are anything that you're looking for that you can't find, or you want some other recommendations or read-alikes, stop in and see us or send us an email, give us a call. We're here, and we miss you all, and we love seeing you as you're coming in, and I hope that your fall is off to a lovely start, and I will see you again next week. Thank you, everybody.